there, my lovelies. Welcome back to my channel, Boomy Reactions. I'm Boomy. Thank you for watching. Now, today, guys, we're going to be watching a travel video. I feel like I haven't done any travel videos in a while. So this one has been requested by the wonderful CollectorDude. Thank you so much, my lovely. Thank you for requesting this. Now you say, hi, Boomy. Your annoying Canadian neighbour is back again. Oh, no. Oh, don't say that. You're never annoying, my lovely. I hope you're taking care of yourself as well more recently. I hope you're doing okay, my friend. But no, you're not annoying. Oh, don't say that. I've sent you a partially fun, partially shameful video entitled 50 Things You Didn't Know About Canada. If you can get past the obnoxious AI voice, I think you'll enjoy the video. Do you know, I don't horrendously mind an AI voice. It'll be fine. There are a few things that show how progressive Canada is, and a few that show a shameful past. You know, well, Canada and the UK have that in common. I think everywhere's got, you know, skeletons in the closet. It's, you know, it's a bit of a sad truth about an awful lot of history of an awful lot of places, unfortunately. But again, I do think it's important that we don't forget it. So, you know, nations don't repeat the same mistakes or similar things don't happen again. You know how I feel about history, guys. I could go on. So there's a few that you'll laugh out loud at. Oh my gosh. Number 10 is still ongoing. Hope you enjoy, from Dave the CollectorDude. Oh, thank you very much, my lovely. Okay, so yes, I'm quick to laugh. I'm not surprised. Quite a few of them will probably make me laugh out loud. Okay, so number 10 is still ongoing. Sounds intriguing. I have no idea what any of these facts are going to be. I'm going in completely blind, guys. Educate me. Let's watch this together. And guys, if you're enjoying these reactions, don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank you so much, my lovelies. If you're interested, I have a Buy Me a Coffee account. That link is over here. And if you would like to help support my channel any further, I have a Patreon account. And if you want to check that out at all, that link is in the description below there. Right. 50 absurd facts about Canada. Did you know
Canada once went to war with Denmark, armed only with whiskey and schnapps?
What?
That there's a town where your breath literally freezes midair and falls to the ground with a tinkling sound? That
Really? That sounds quite magical, actually. Ooh.
Canadian soldiers burned down the White House and the US president had to flee for his life? And that there's a place called Dildo, Newfoundland, where...
Oh my, that was such an unfortunate time to pause. That's the American Revolution, is it not? So maybe I do know that fact. I don't think I want to repeat that last one. Let's just wait until it happens, okay?
Presidents actively fought to keep the name? Canada isn't just hockey and apologies. It's alcohol-fueled territorial disputes, temperatures so extreme they break the laws of physics, military victories America wants to forget, and town names so inappropriate they became profitable tourist attractions. If you love discovering the bizarre side of history, hit subscribe because we're counting down 50 absolutely absurd facts about Canada. By fact number 1.
Oh, that's fact number 1. I'm already invested. Give me some examples and I'm already really, really interested. I'm not going to repeat one of the last ones. We'll see as it happens. Okay, yes, I've already seen some of the very, very extreme, bizarre weather that can take place in Canada. You know, from the ice rain, the freezing rain. Oh gosh, it was awful. Was it 98? Oh.
You'll understand why the true North is hiding darker, weirder, and more shocking secrets than any other country on Earth. At number 50, Canada has more lakes than all other countries in the world combined. The country contains approximately 60% of the world's lakes. There are over 2 million lakes across Canadian territory.
Did I hear that right? Did he say 2 million? What? How big does a body of water have to be considered a lake? It might be a silly question, but I've always just wondered. When does a pond become a lake?
Of these, 31,752 lakes are larger than 3 square kilometers. The province of Ontario alone has over 250,000 lakes. If you tried to visit one lake per day, it would take over 5,000 years to see them all. Canada is essentially a nation floating on water.
Full of lakes.
Number 49. The border between Canada and the United States is the world's longest international border. It stretches 8,891 kilometers, including the Alaska-Canada border. Most of it is undefended and unmarked in wilderness areas. In some places, the border cuts directly through buildings. The Haskell Free Library and Opera House sits exactly on the border.
How does that happen? Wouldn't you just move the border? Or wouldn't you just build it on one side or the other? Maybe it's a reflection of things. You know, there's the shared friendship on the border. Maybe.
The audience sits in the United States, while performers stand on stage in Canada. People cross international borders just by walking across a room. At number 48, Canada consumed more Kraft Dinner, macaroni and cheese, per capita than any other nation
surprised.
On Earth.
It's delicious.
Canadians eat 55% more Kraft Dinner than Americans. The product was introduced to Canada in 1937 during the Great Depression.
I was going to say, but it's American, isn't it? And now Canadians eat 55%. I'm not surprised, guys. It is delicious. I've only tried the original mac and cheese here in the front, but it's so yummy.
It cost 19 cents for a box that could feed a family.
If only.
During World War II rationing, Kraft Dinner became a staple. Canadians developed a cultural attachment to boxed mac and cheese that never faded. The most stereotypically American food is actually most popular in Canada. Number 47. The town of Alert in Nunavut is the northernmost permanently inhabited place in the world. It sits just 817 kilometers from the North Pole. The population fluctuates between 60 and 80 people, mostly military and scientific personnel. Alert experiences 24-hour darkness from October to February and 24-hour daylight from April to August.
I always wondered this in the parts of the planet that experienced the 24-hour darkness in what would be the winter time. Does it work in the opposite so that they get 24 hours daylight in the summertime, or is that on the other side? I'm not going to pretend to know, but I did wonder. So, okay, answered. Thank you.
Temperatures regularly drop below minus 40 degrees. The nearest
Celsius.
civilization is over 2,000 kilometers away.
No, hang on. I thought that was going to be Fahrenheit. That's actually in Celsius. Minus 40 degrees Celsius. I complain about it being 7 degrees. that's cold. That's boomy cold. Blooming cold. Minus 40 degrees. Oh my gosh.
Living in Alert means accepting isolation that's almost incomprehensible. At number 46, Canada's official phone number is 1-800-O-Canada. The government set up this number for citizens to get information about federal services. You can actually call Canada. The country has a customer service line. It's the most Canadian thing imaginable. A polite, accessible way to contact your government. Number 45. Basketball was invented by a Canadian. Dr. James Naismith from Almonte, Ontario, created the game in 1891 while working at a YMCA in Springfield, Massachusetts. He was trying to invent an indoor sport for winter that would keep athletes in shape between football and baseball seasons. Naismith nailed 2 peach baskets to opposite ends of a gymnasium and wrote 13 basic rules. The global basketball phenomenon came from a Canadian physical education teacher trying to keep students busy during cold weather.
That's amazing, because quite often I associate basketball with America, with the US. So it's actually created by a Canadian chap. Well, there you go, with the best intentions, you know, keeping your jocks and sportsmen busy in between seasons. Why not? I think that's brilliant. The AI voice isn't actually annoying at all in this video. I've heard much, much worse, much more annoying. This one's absolutely fine.
Number 44, the Canadian province of Newfoundland has its own time zone that's 30 minutes ahead of Atlantic time. Newfoundland Standard Time is UTC, minus 3:30. It's one of only a few places on Earth using a half-hour deviation. The island is geographically positioned in a way that made the half-hour increment make sense.
Okay.
Newfoundland operates on its own schedule, literally. Even time zones couldn't convince Newfoundland to conform.
Newfoundland or Newfoundland. How am I say it? Should I just copy the AI voice? Is there a place called Labrador? Oh, it just makes me think of the dog.
Number 43. Canada has a UFO landing pad. The town of St. Paul, Alberta, built the world's first UFO landing pad in 1967 to celebrate Canada's centennial. The platform is 12 meters wide and weighs 130 tons. A time capsule is buried beneath it, set to be opened in 2067. The town takes extraterrestrial tourism seriously. There's even an official welcome sign for alien visitors. St. Paul prepared for first contact before anyone else.
I love that. It's a matter of when, isn't it, guys? It's going to happen at some point. You have to have somewhere very regal and official looking to welcome our extraterrestrial friends.
Number 42. The longest street in the world is in Canada.
Oh, how long
Yonge
is it?
Street in Ontario stretches from Toronto to Rainy River near the Minnesota border. The street is 1,896 kilometers long. It was
We always think of the really long streets. We assume America just has these really, really, really long streets because when you hear house numbers on like TV programs, they're always like 4 digits. So we just assume you've got like mega long streets, but that is absolutely ginormous. What number does the street go up to?
originally a trail used by indigenous peoples, then became a military road in the 1790s. The Guinness Book of World Records recognized it as the longest street in the world. You could drive for 2 days straight and never leave Yonge Street. Number 41. Canada once went to war with Denmark over an uninhabited island, but the war was fought with bottles of alcohol. Hans Island sits between Greenland and Ellesmere Island. Both countries claim it. The Whiskey War began in 1984. Canadian soldiers would plant a flag and leave a bottle of Canadian whiskey. Danish military would replace it with a Danish flag and schnapps. This polite booze exchange continued for decades. In 2022, the countries finally agreed to split the island. The friendliest territorial dispute in history ended with compromise and presumably a lot of drinking.
Surprised the UK weren't involved if it involved a lot of drinking. Oh my gosh. I mean, if a war's going to be fought like that, if a dispute, a territorial dispute, if that's how far the fighting goes, then, it's okay, isn't it? That's a very peaceful dispute. Oh, I'm glad to see they've set their differences aside.
At number 40, Canada is home to the world's longest skating rink. The Rideau Canal Skateway in Ottawa becomes a massive ice rink every winter. The skateway stretches 7.8 kilometers through the heart of the capital. It's equivalent to 90 Olympic-sized skating rinks placed end-to-end. During Winterlude Festival, thousands skate to work, school, or just for fun. Vendors sell beaver tails, a fried dough pastry, along the ice.
Yes.
UNESCO designated the canal a World Heritage Site. Commuting by ice skate is a real winter option.
Can you imagine going to work via ice skating? Oh, that sounds so much fun. Beaver tails. I have seen beaver tails and they look delicious. What's your favorite flavors to have on them?
39. Canadians say so frequently that the Canadian Oxford Dictionary includes it as a legitimate word. Is used to turn statements into questions, to express surprise, or to seek agreement. The word appears in official dictionaries and is recognized internationally as distinctly Canadian. A single syllable became a national linguistic trademark.
What's our equivalent of A? You've got A? I think ours is just oi. Oi!
Number 38. The beaver is Canada's national animal. It was chosen for its importance to Canadian history. The fur trade, particularly beaver pelts, drove early Canadian exploration and economic development. The beaver appears on the 5-cent coin, called the nickel. This rodent that builds dams became the symbol of an entire nation. Canada chose a buck-toothed dam builder as its national icon and somehow made it work.
Oh, but they're so cute. Come on. Now, I'm very happy to say that we've got some in the UK now. Yay! Not the Europe. I don't think it is the same European beaver. Is it the American beaver? And they've... anyway, at some point, we did have beavers in the UK. Unsurprisingly, they were hunted to extinction. I think in what, like the 1600s? I think a long time ago, hundreds of years ago. And now they've reintroduced them into the wild. And I don't know if they've still not done it yet, but Wales is set to be home to some more beavers, reintroducing them into the Welsh wilderness. I'm very much looking forward to seeing one eventually. I think they're adorable.
Number 37. Canada has more donut shops per capita than any other country. Tim Hortons alone has over 4,000 locations across Canada.
We've got a handful of Tim Hortons. I say a handful, probably a lot more than that, across the UK. And it's introduced me to the cruller, which is possibly, I mean, is it a donut? Can you class it as a donut? It's what I order when I come to Tim Hortons anyway. I absolutely love them. I think it's just 1 degree away from a bit of an obsession. So, I mean, I would say I'm obsessed with Chick-fil-A sauce, but the Tim Hortons cruller isn't far off. That could be it could be a boomy obsession, I think.
The chain was founded in 1964 by hockey player Tim Horton. Timmy's became a cultural institution. Canadians consume more donuts per person annually than Americans. Coffee and donuts aren't just breakfast. They're a way of life. The country runs on double-doubles and Timbits.
And the crosshatch
At number 36, the town of Churchill, Manitoba, is known as the polar bear capital of the world. Every fall, polar bears migrate through town, waiting for Hudson Bay to freeze so they can hunt seals.
Oh, hang on. They're quite dangerous, aren't they? How does that work? How does the town ensure the safety of other residents here? How do they ensure there's no polar bear attacks? I believe they can be quite nasty.
Over 1,000 bears pass through annually. Residents leave their cars and houses unlocked in case someone needs to escape a bear quickly.
Right.
There's a polar bear jail where problem bears are held before being relocated.
Polar bear time out. It's a detention center for polar bears. For the troublemakers. Absolutely.
Churchill built its entire identity around coexisting with apex predators.
Oh.
Number 35. Canada has a desert. The Osoyoos Desert in British Columbia is the northern tip of the Great Basin Desert.
Wow.
It's an arid shrub steppe ecosystem supporting species found nowhere else in Canada. Temperatures regularly exceed 40 degrees Celsius in summer. Cacti, rattlesnakes, and scorpions live there. People think Canada is all snow and ice.
Yeah.
Southern British Columbia has legitimate desert complete with dangerous wildlife and extreme heat.
Now, I know that Canada isn't just snow and ice. I'm sure there are many parts of Canada that experience wonderful, lovely summers. Probably much nicer than the UK. Like I say, 3 days of sun, that's it. That's the best we can hope for. But I didn't know there was an actual desert. Oh my, like with rattlesnakes. Oh my gosh, just clear my throat there. With rattlesnakes and scorpions, like an actual desert. Oh my gosh. Literally 50 things that I did not know.
Number 34, Superman is Canadian. Joe Shuster, who co-created Superman with Jerry Siegel in 1938, was born in Toronto. Shuster lived in Toronto until age 10 before moving to Cleveland. Many believe Metropolis was inspired by Toronto. The Man of Steel has Canadian roots. The most American superhero was invented by a Canadian kid. Number 33. Canada has the longest coastline of any country on Earth. The Canadian coastline measures 243,042 kilometers. That's more than 6 times around the equator. The coastline is longer than the next two countries, Indonesia and Russia. Combined,
Wow.
Canada borders 3 different oceans: Atlantic, Pacific, and Arctic.
Oh, yes, yeah.
Managing and defending this massive coastline is a monumental task. At number 32, the Hawaiian pizza was invented in Canada. Sam Panopoulos, a Greek immigrant, created the controversial pineapple and ham pizza at his restaurant in Chatham, Ontario in 1962. He named it Hawaiian after the brand of canned pineapple he used. The combination sparked decades of debate. Some call it genius. Others call it culinary sacrilege. Canada invented pizza's most divisive topping combination and named it after somewhere else entirely.
That is actually hilarious. It's a pizza that's named Hawaiian that was created by a Greek gentleman. I love the concept. I love it. Now, controversially, I adore ham and pineapple pizza. I love the combination of pineapple and cheese. I think it's underrated, I think. And ham. I don't know what the controversy is. I think it's a wonderful flavour. I might have just opened up an argument in the comments section. Well, I think it's nice.
Number 31. Winnie the Pooh is based on a Canadian bear. A Canadian soldier named Harry Colborne bought a bear cub in Ontario in 1914. He named her Winnipeg, Winnie for short. Colborne brought Winnie to England during World War I and donated her to the London Zoo. Author A. Milne's son, Christopher Robin, loved visiting Winnie. Milne wrote stories about a honey-loving bear inspired by the Canadian animal. One of literature's most beloved characters has Canadian origins.
Absolutely. Oh my gosh, I knew it was like had British roots. I didn't know it was based on a Canadian bear. Oh, isn't that lovely?
Number 30, Canada tried to ban alcohol during Prohibition, but failed spectacularly. While the United States banned alcohol from 1920 to 1933, Canada had various provincial prohibitions that were poorly enforced. Canadian distilleries legally produced alcohol and technically exported it to other countries. In reality, bootleggers smuggled massive quantities across the border into the United States. Canadian whiskey producers became rich during American Prohibition. Canada became America's bartender. Number 29. The RCMP, the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, are one of Canada's most recognizable symbols.
Yes.
The iconic red serge uniform and Stetson hat are known worldwide. The RCMP was created in 1873 as the Northwest Mounted Police to bring law and order to Western territories. Mounties became symbols of Canadian authority and justice. The musical ride, a ceremonial cavalry drill, has performed internationally for over 100 years. Canada's federal police force became a global cultural icon.
Very iconic.
At number 28, Canada has a town named Dildo in Newfoundland and Labrador.
Announcing the name of, is it a city or a town? Announcing the name in very kind of Hollywood style. Dildo.
The town has approximately 1,200 residents. The name likely comes from an obsolete nautical term referring to a wooden peg or pin. Despite numerous petition attempts to change the name, residents have consistently voted to keep it. Dildo even trademarked its name to sell merchandise. The town embraced its unfortunate name and turned it into tourist attraction. Number 27. The CN Tower in Toronto was the world's tallest freestanding structure for 32 years. Construction finished in 1976, and it stood 553.3 meters tall. The tower was built to demonstrate Canadian engineering prowess. It survived multiple lightning strikes, earthquakes, and extreme weather.
Wow.
The Edgewalk attraction lets visitors walk around the outside of the tower's main pod, 356 meters above ground, tethered by a harness. The CN Tower dominated skylines and engineering records for decades. At number 26, Canada has 2 official languages, English and French.
Yes.
All federal services must be available in both languages. Product packaging displays both languages. The bilingual policy was established in 1969 under Prime Minister Pierre Trudeau. Approximately 22% of Canadians speak French as their first language. New Brunswick is the only officially bilingual province. Language politics remain contentious, especially in Quebec. 2 languages, 1 country, constant negotiation.
Oh. What's the controversy over it? It sounds very similar to Wales. A lot of our services have to be provided in both English and Welsh. There's still quite a number of people, I think, in Wales where Welsh is their first language. And, you know, I think it's a bit of a policy for the government to always try and increase those numbers to ensure that it's not a dying language, that, you know, it's also our ancestry and we keep it going. So what's the controversy with the use of English and French in Canada?
25. The Canadian Armed Forces were the first to allow women to serve in combat roles in 1989. Canada opened all military occupations to women without restriction.
Very progressive.
This progressive policy happened decades before most other countries. Women now serve in every branch and role. Canada led the way in military gender integration. At number 24, Montreal's underground city, the Riso, is the largest underground complex in the world. It connects 10 metro stations, 2,000 shops, 1,600 housing units, museums, universities, and more across 33 kilometers of tunnels. Over 500,000 people use it daily during winter. You can live, work, eat, shop, and be entertained entirely underground. Montreal built a subterranean city to escape winter.
That was going to be my question. It's already been answered. So you can live. Oh my gosh, I don't know what's going on my throat today, guys. Sorry. So you can live underground. Does it feel weird? That's such a weird thing to say. I think when you use like the undergrounds or like the tubes, you can always feel a pressure. It's like your body knows that, you know, there's a feeling to being that far underground. I think anyway. Does it feel weird? Oh, I'd like to go around the shopping centres. And did it say there was universities, or is it part of the universities? That's crazy. And you know what? If it's to escape the extreme weather, sure. It sounds very innovative, actually.
23. The territory of Nunavut was created in 1999, making it Canada's newest territory. Nunavut means our land in Inuktitut. The territory covers 2 million square kilometers, making it the 5th largest country subdivision in the world. The population is only about 40,000 people. Nunavut gave Inuit people self-governance over their traditional homeland. It's one of the most sparsely populated regions on Earth. At number 22, Canada has a piece of France on its territory. The islands of Saint-Pierre and Miquelon, just off the coast of Newfoundland, are French territory. These tiny islands are the last remnant of France's North American colonial empire. Residents are French citizens. The islands use the euro. France exists just 25 kilometers from Canadian shores. A European nation sits in Canadian waters.
Why would it still be part of French territory? Why does it not belong to Canada? I'll never understand politics like that, especially more recently. But maybe the residents enjoy the dual nationality? I don't know.
21. The War of 1812 saw Canadian forces burn down the White House. British and Canadian troops invaded Washington, D.C. in August 1814. They set fire to the White House, the Capitol, and other government buildings in retaliation for American forces burning York, now Toronto. President James Madison and his wife Dolly fled before troops arrived. The White House was gutted by fire. Canada can legitimately claim it burned down the American presidential residence. Now, before we get to the top 20 facts that reveal Canada's darkest secrets, make sure you smash that subscribe button and turn on notifications, because what's coming includes Indigenous tragedies, maple syrup heists worth millions, and stories that will change how you see the Great White North forever. Let's go. At number 20, the town of Snag Yukon recorded the lowest temperature ever measured in continental
gosh,
North
what was
America on February 3rd, 1947. The temperature dropped to minus 63 degrees Celsius. That's minus 81.4 degrees Fahrenheit. At that temperature, exhaled breath freezes instantly and falls to the ground, with a tinkling sound locals call the whisper of the stars.
Oh
Any
my
exposed
gosh.
skin
Ah!
freezes in seconds. Car engines must run continuously or they'll never start again. Metal.
I don't know about you guys, but I actually cannot fathom. I cannot have any grasp of what minus 63, did they say? Minus 62 degrees feels like. Oh my gosh, I know we said earlier minus 40. It's even worse. And that's what that tinkling sound, tinkling. That's what that sound is that they discussed in the intro to the video. Okay, so it's here. Your breath, exhaled breath, freezes and then kind of just tick, 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 to the. That's crazy. I don't know how I'd cope with my eyelashes freezing.
Becomes
Must be
brittle
comfortable.
and shatters. Snag experienced cold that seems physically impossible. Number
Not still that
19.
cold, is it?
Canada has a massive underground vault storing the world's agricultural seeds. The Canadian Grain Commission operates seed banks, but Canada also contributed to the Svalbard Global Seed Vault in Norway. Additionally, Plant Gene Resources of Canada maintains seed collections as insurance against agricultural catastrophe.
Wow.
These collections preserve genetic diversity of crops.
Yeah.
If global agriculture collapses, these seeds could restart civilization.
Literally.
Canada helps guard humanity's food future underground. At number...
That's a ginormous responsibility. It's one of those where, you know, it's a good insurance policy. And then if nothing ever happens, it kind of gets overlooked a little bit, importance-wise, doesn't it? But if there was ever a zombie apocalypse or a ginormous supervolcano eruption, explosion, then, you know, all of a sudden, these become really, really important. Like, literally, the fate of humanity would depend on them. That's amazing.
18, the Yule residential school system was one of Canada's darkest chapters. From the 1880s to 1996, over 150,000 Indigenous children were forcibly removed from their families and sent to residential schools.
No.
The schools attempted to erase Indigenous culture, language, and identity. Children were abused physically, sexually, and psychologically.
No.
Thousands died from disease, neglect, and abuse. Unmarked graves have been discovered at former school sites. The Truth and Reconciliation Commission documented this cultural genocide. Canada's treatment of Indigenous peoples is a national shame that continues to require reckoning and reconciliation. Number 17.
I think every nation has dark pasts similar to these atrocities, and they are atrocities, aren't they? They're criminal, and they should never have happened. Unfortunately, I would say most, if not all, nations also have these awful parts of their histories. And I think the only way going forward really is acknowledgement is a massive part of it. It's not necessarily acceptance, but it is acknowledgement for the roles played and how, you know, it came to happen. Acknowledgement for the victims and to apologize. And it's not saying that people so much in, you know, now have directly, you know, harmed the victims, but I think it's just a collective thing, isn't it? It's just to acknowledge and, oh, it's awful. But most nations, if not all, do have a horrible, awful past like this as well.
The Great Canadian Maple Syrup Heist occurred in 2011 and 2012. Thieves stole 3,000 tons of maple syrup worth $18.7 million from Quebec's Global Strategic Maple Syrup Reserve. The syrup was stored in barrels in a warehouse. Thieves siphoned syrup from barrels, replacing it with water. The theft wasn't discovered for months. It became the most valuable heist in Canadian history. 26 people were arrested. The ringleader was sentenced to 8 years in prison. Canada takes its maple syrup so seriously, it maintains a strategic reserve that became the target of an elaborate heist. At number...
I'm not surprised. The value of Canadian maple syrup, proper maple syrup over here, I haven't checked recently. The last time I wanted to buy maple syrup, and we're not even talking about genuine stuff, it was about, the cheapest you can get it is probably about maybe kind of £4, British pounds for a little bottle. So I don't know what that equates to in dollars or weight or anything like that. But if it's marketed as being true, proper Canadian maple syrup, we'd probably be looking at paying a minimum, I'd say 10 British pounds, and that's for a small quantity. And I think I'm being a bit optimistic there. But, oh, it's delicious. Canadian syrup might actually hold more value to me than money. I'm not surprised. The value of it, of course, it's so yummy.
16. Canada has more than 563 First Nations, Inuit, and Métis communities, representing over 50 distinct Indigenous nations and language groups. Before European contact, millions of Indigenous people lived across what is now Canada. They had sophisticated societies, governments, and cultures. Colonization devastated these populations through disease, violence, and forced assimilation. Today, approximately 1.8 million people identify as Indigenous. The movement toward reconciliation and recognizing Indigenous rights continues. Canada's Indigenous peoples survived genocide and are reclaiming their languages, cultures, and sovereignty. Number 15. The Canadian town of Gander, Newfoundland, became famous on September 11, 2001, when American airspace closed after the terrorist attacks. 38 planes carrying 6,595 passengers were diverted to Gander's airport. The town's population doubled instantly. Residents opened their homes and provided food, shelter, and comfort to stranded passengers for 5 days. The story inspired the Broadway musical Come From Away. Gander demonstrated Canadian hospitality during America's darkest day. A small town became a symbol of kindness. At number 4...
That's a lovely story. Oh my gosh, I'm going to look a little bit more into that, because I think that's been requested as well, like a video into the hospitality of oh my gosh, what was it? Is it Gander? During the attack. And I love hearing stories like that. You know, there are atrocities, there are horrible, horrible events that take place, but sometimes just acts of kindness. And, you know, we see the worst of humanity, don't we, in these awful, awful, hateful attacks. But then sometimes it can bring out the nicer, the lovely elements of humanity, which is always worth reporting on and remembering and hearing these lovely stories.
Canada has a town where you need permission to die. Longyearbyen in Svalbard. Wait, that's actually Norway. But Canada has its own remote communities with similar extreme conditions. In Canadian Arctic communities, bodies cannot be buried because permafrost makes it impossible to dig graves deep enough. Bodies can't decompose properly and could be disturbed by animals or erosion. Seriously ill people are typically flown to larger centers. The Arctic environment makes even death complicated. Number 13. Canada has a magnetic hill, where cars appear to roll uphill. Magnetic Hill in Moncton, New Brunswick is an optical illusion created by the surrounding landscape. When you put your car in neutral at the bottom of the hill, it appears to roll uphill on its own. It's actually rolling downhill, but the horizon line creates the illusion. Thousands of tourists visit annually to experience the phenomenon. Physics and perception collide at Magnetic Hill. At number 12, the Highway of Tears in British Columbia has been the site of numerous disappearances and murders. Highway 16, stretching 725 kilometers from Prince George to Prince Rupert, has seen at least 40 women, many Indigenous, go missing or murdered since 1969. The actual number could be much higher. Number 11. Canadians invented the paint roller, the electric wheelchair, the Robertson screw, the snowmobile, insulin, and the cardiac pacemaker.
Oh, that's quite the handful of discoveries. Personally, want to say thank you for the paint roller. Big fan.
The list of Canadian innovations is remarkable for a country with a relatively small population. In 1922, Frederick Banting and Charles Best discovered insulin at the University of Toronto, saving millions of diabetics' lives.
Literally.
Joseph Armand Bombardier invented the snowmobile in 1937. John Hopps invented the first artificial pacemaker in 1950.
Wow.
Canadian ingenuity solved problems and saved lives worldwide. At number 10, Canada almost became part of the United States. During the American Revolution, the Continental Army invaded Quebec in 1775, hoping French Canadians would join the rebellion against Britain. The invasion failed. The Articles of Confederation included provisions for Canadian provinces to join the United States. During the War of 1812, the U.S. invaded again. Canada repelled them. Throughout the 19th century, some Americans advocated annexing Canada. Manifest Destiny included northern expansion. Canada resisted and developed its own identity, but the pressure from the South was constant. Number 9, the Halifax.
Oh, wow. That very nearly happened. I didn't know that. Can you... It'd be a very, very different country, wouldn't it, if that had actually succeeded? Wow.
Halifax explosion in 1917 was the largest man-made explosion before nuclear weapons. On December 6th, a French cargo ship loaded with wartime explosives collided with a Norwegian vessel in Halifax Harbor. The French ship caught fire and exploded with the force of roughly 2.9 kilotons of TNT. The blast killed approximately 2,000 people instantly and injured 9,000 others. It destroyed the Richmond neighborhood completely. Windows shattered 80 kilometers away. A tsunami followed the blast. Halifax was devastated. The explosion remained the largest non-nuclear explosion in history until nuclear weapons were developed.
1917. That is a huge portion of the population. Oh my gosh. Again, another one, I did not know that.
At number 8, Canada decriminalized homosexuality in 1969. Justice Minister Pierre Trudeau famously said, "There's no place for the state in the bedrooms of the nation." Canada was progressive on LGBTQ plus rights decades before many countries. Same-sex marriage became legal nationwide in 2005. Canada has protections for gender identity and expression in federal law. The country moved from criminalization to recognition within a generation. Number 7. The October Crisis in 1970 was Canada's closest moment to martial law. The Front de Libération du Québec, FLQ, a radical separatist group, kidnapped British diplomat James Cross and Quebec Deputy Premier Pierre Laporte. The FLQ murdered Laporte. Prime Minister Pierre Trudeau invoked the War Measures Act, the only peacetime use in Canadian history. Civil liberties were suspended. Hundreds were arrested without warrant. Soldiers occupied Montreal. The crisis tested Canadian democracy. The FLQ dissolved, but the trauma shaped Quebec politics for decades. At number 6, the Avro Arrow was an advanced supersonic interceptor aircraft developed by Canada in the 1950s. The Arrow was one of the most sophisticated aircraft of its era. It could fly at speeds over Mach 2. The program employed over 14,000 people and represented peak Canadian aerospace engineering. In 1959, Prime Minister John Diefenbaker abruptly canceled the program. All existing aircraft were ordered destroyed and cut into pieces. Blueprints and models were destroyed. Thousands lost their jobs. Many engineers left Canada for the United States, helping build NASA and American aerospace programs. The Arrow's cancellation remains one of Canada's greatest what-if moments. Number 5.
I'm sorry if they actually mentioned that. Maybe I was talking over it. Why? What was the reason behind the abrupt cancellation of this? Is it a conspiracy theory? Maybe they actually said and just wasn't listening. If that is the case, I do apologize. I do that a lot. I keep talking over information.
The Winnipeg General Strike in 1919 was the largest strike in Canadian history. Over 30,000 workers walked off the job on May 15th. The strike paralyzed Winnipeg for 6 weeks. Workers demanded better wages, working conditions, and the right to collective bargaining. Business leaders and government officials feared communist revolution. On June 21st, Bloody Saturday, the RCMP charged strikers. 2 people were killed. Dozens were injured. The strike ended, but it galvanized the labor movement and changed Canadian labor relations forever. At number 4, the Dion quintuplets were born in Ontario in 1934 and became an international sensation. 5 identical...
Oh my gosh, and they look like such robust babies as well. Can you imagine? You'd be massive. You would be huge. Because they don't look particularly... They look like they've more or less gone to term. All 5 of the babies. Oh!
Girls, Emily, Yvonne, Cecile, Marie, and Annette, were born 2 months premature.
Oh!
Their survival was miraculous.
Okay, so they do look a lot small here, don't they? 2 months premature. And even then, I bet you would have felt absolutely massive, wouldn't you? Oh, look how adorable they are.
Government seized the girls from their parents, making them wards of the state. They were put on display in a specially built compound called Quintland. Millions of tourists came to watch them play through one-way glass. The girls were treated like zoo animals. The exploitation lasted 9 years before they were returned to their family. They
were taken away from their family. What on earth is the justification for that? Oh, I mean, they are absolutely cute as a button, aren't they? They are so adorable. But why would you treat anyone, never mind children, like zoo animals? Ugh.
Suffered abuse and were forced to pose for commercial endorsements. The Dion quintuplets were commodified and traumatized by their own government for profit. Number 3. The Quebec sovereignty referendum of 1995 nearly split Canada apart. The vote asked if Quebec should become independent. The NO side won by only 50.58% to 49.42%. A difference of just 54,288 votes kept Canada together. On referendum night, the nation held its breath. Quebec's separatism had come within 1 percentage point of success. The unity of Canada hung by a thread. The aftermath sparked debates about federalism, national identity, and Quebec's place in Canada that continue today. At number 2, the Komagata Maru incident in 1914 was one of Canada's most shameful racist episodes. A Japanese steamship carrying 376 passengers, mostly Sikhs from India who were British subjects, arrived in Vancouver. Canadian immigration officials refused to let them land based on racist, continuous journey regulations designed to exclude Asian immigrants. The ship sat in the harbor for 2 months. Passengers suffered in terrible conditions. Only 24 people were allowed to land. The ship was forced to return to India. When it arrived in Calcutta, British Indian police opened fire on passengers. 19 people were killed. Canada's racist immigration policies led directly to deaths. The government formally apologized in 2016, over a century later. And at number 1, the Canadian government forced Indigenous women to be sterilized without consent. From the 1930s to the 1970s, and in some cases into the 1980s, Indigenous women were coerced or forcibly sterilized. Doctors sterilized women during cesarean sections without consent.
Oh my gosh.
Women were told they couldn't leave hospitals unless they agreed to sterilization. Alberta's Sexual Sterilization Act wasn't repealed until 1972. Survivors describe it as cultural genocide. The practice aimed to reduce Indigenous populations and eliminate Indigenous peoples. In 2017 and 2018, Indigenous women in Saskatchewan reported being pressured into tubal ligations while giving birth. The horror didn't end in the 1970s. Forced sterilization represents Canada's ongoing failure to protect Indigenous women and respect human rights. It's a crime against humanity that happened in modern Canada and has never been fully addressed or accounted for. From maple syrup
Really?
heists to cultural genocide, from polite alcohol wars to forced sterilization, from world-changing inventions to national shame, Canada hides extraordinary stories beneath its reputation for politeness. The True North's history is far darker and stranger than the stereotypes suggest. Which fact shocked you most? Drop a comment. If you want more hidden truths, smash subscribe. See you next time. Did you know?
Plenty of I don't think I knew any of those facts. Maybe with the burning of the White House, it rings a bell. Looking into the American Revolution and such. So that's the one exception. Most of those very interesting. A handful are weird. The most peaceful territory disputed in the world. I'm grateful for, there's no violence. I think it's really funny. A handful of shocking truths there, but not a but like I say, I do think I would go as far as to say I don't think any nation has a perfect history that has no signs of racism or genocide or just war, skeletons in the closet, to say the least. It's a bit more than that, isn't it? I think the important thing going forward is recognition. Absolutely. And apologies. It's not to say that there are people living in this day and age that are directly responsible for the injustices, but I think it's so important to acknowledge it for the victims. I don't think it provides closure in itself, but I think it helps. Honestly, obviously, I'm not speaking as a victim. I can't really claim to speak for anybody, but I think it's important. I do think it is. So yeah, number one absolutely shocked me to the core. I cannot believe that ever happened. Oh, it's so awful. My heart absolutely bleeds for the victims here, and it's awful. It just is. There's no words for it. I suppose all you can do as a nation is to just acknowledge and apologize. Not saying it's directly you that's personally done it, but I think it's a bit of solidarity. Like we stand with the victims. We acknowledge it shouldn't have happened. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, I'm very saddened by number one there. Very, very interesting. Like I say, all but one of these facts I had absolutely no idea. More than a handful. Definitely be able to use in a pub quiz. But very, very interesting. So thank you so much, CollectorDude. Another absolute banger. So thank you so much for requesting that, my lovely. I hope you enjoyed watching along with me, guys. Take care of yourselves, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.